What's up guys, it's your host Spartanic Arts DxD back with another high school DxD related video. And today we have What If Issei Was Betrayed and Became a God, part 7. Let's try to hit 500 to 600 likes. If you guys want to know exactly when I upload / my upload schedule, click the little blue button right next to the subscribe button. A special thank you to my balance breakers, Rob the King, Jorge Alvarez or George Alvarez, Lachlan Yates, Atomic Warlord 58, Quozelko Toltec Sun God, sorry if I mispronounced that once again, Daybreak, VR Wolf hashtag 2347, Sinrar Q, Jordan Patchow, and Mazaku. Thank you so much for becoming a balance breaker. If you guys want to see other what ifs on other characters, for example, Goku, like what if Goku was the god of destruction, head over to my second channel and I'll link down in the description below. Without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into it. Chapter 17, third POV, Mordred. Yes, master, I've been a bad girl, so punish me. I hate reading that. Suddenly, the cabin's door opens, revealing Sona and her peerage standing there with a huge blush on their face looking at the position the couple was in. Sona, Mordred, Issei all looked at each other just in silence, and Saji goes, I'll just go back. Saji runs away with a huge blush, and soon after, both Issei and Mordred separate from each other, embraced with their red face with embarrassment. I should have locked the door, Mordred said. You should have, Issei replied. Issei sarcastically says, causing Mordred to punch him in his guts, causing him to groan in pain. It's my fault. I should have not been here, Sona replied. It's not your fault. It's just you got here at the wrong time. It's a misunderstanding, Issei says. Anyway, we will be at the Sietri territory in an hour, so I just wanted to say farewells and some else, Sona says. Sona bites her lip in nervousness, earning a small smirk from Mordred and a clueless stare from Issei. I'll check out for Mash. I must make sure she's fine, Mordred says. Mordred leaves the cabin with a small smile. Well, what pleasure do I owe you, Issei says. I have been wanting to confess this for you for a long time. What do you want to know about, Issei says. Still clueless about the situation, Issei nonchalantly asked her, causing Sona to develop a small blush. Please don't freak out about this, but we are engaged, Sona says. Holy shit, partner. You got yourself a harem. Wait, partner, can you hear me? Drake says. Drake yells at Issei's mind, but gets nothing in return, while Issei, unable to believe what he just heard, stares at her. Pardon? Issei says. We are engaged, Sona says. A small crack is heard from Issei as his mind internally collapses, earning a boisterous laughter from the Welsh dragon, whose voice fills the captain's startling but blushing Sietri. I can't believe this. The strongest red dragon emperor with the power to crush multiple gods at his full power, who has an unbreakable will, has been mind broken by a girl, Drake says. Issei starts to say. I'll explain this, Sona says. My parents decided that the first male to outsmart me in a game of chess will be my fiancé, and you're the first person to do this. I have also informed Mordred about this, and she doesn't have any problems with this. So, Sona replies, I don't know what to... Issei just sits there. I love you with all my heart. The day I laid my eyes on you, I felt a blissful feeling that I hadn't ever felt. It was tempting. I wanted to see you, to look at you, and before I knew, I had a crush on you. But then, the moment I lost you in the game of chess, I fell in love with you. I just wanted to know about this. Think about this. I'll be waiting for an answer, Sona says. With a gentle smile, Sona gently kisses him on the cheeks and then takes her leave, leaving a dumbstruck Issei. Issei in his head. What the fuck was that? I got kissed by a girl other than by Mordred, and it's none other than Sona Sietri. The most serious person I've ever seen, and apparently I'm engaged to her without my knowledge just because of the fact that I won a fucking game of chess against her. What am I, some hentai protagonist who is hellbent on fucking women and creating a harem? Wait, when I was a devil, I did have my goal as a creating a harem. Does that mean I am a hentai protagonist? But why do I feel like Dragon Sense is getting a bit dormant? Should I just accept her confession? Wait, no. Why did I ever think about cheating on my queen? Holy shit, Issei says to himself. Indulged in his own thoughts, the Red Dragon Emperor fails to notice his queen making his way towards him. I suppose that she confessed, Mordred did. That she did, Issei says. Without letting his emotions out, Issei vaguely answers her, earning a small frown from the Knight of Treachery. Issei, darling, I'm not against the fact that you have been multiple lovers. Dragons are known for having a lot more mates. But if you ever try to replace me, I'll tear you apart, Mordred says. With a maniacal grin replacing her previous smile, the Knight of Treachery lets out her bloodlust. Looking at her malicious behavior, Issei feels himself getting a bit nervous, feeling a few drops of sweat on his forehead, but then another feeling took over his nervousness. I will never leave your side. I made a promise to be beside you forever, Issei says. I'm glad to hear that. Anyway, what about Sona? Mordred said. I honestly don't know, Issei replies. Letting out a huge sigh in frustration makes Issei make eye contractions with Mordred, earning a small smirk accompanied by a blush. Perhaps I could help you, Mordred says. Understanding the meaning behind the smirk, Issei immediately pushes her into the couch and proceeds to kiss her. Now, with Rias. The ex-Gremory Harris has her gaze fixed on the television in which a devil tells news regarding the Underworld. President. The familiar spying on Issei's cabin has reported a live feed, Akeno says. Hearing this crimson-haired ruined princess averts her attention to the newly formed Gremory magic glyph, which also earning the attention of everyone except Kiba. I want to see this, Konako says. I'll pay attention, Azir replies. With a meek voice, Azir responds to Akeno, while Konako answers to Akeno with her stoic voice. This is called stalking. I don't recommend this, Zenobia says. It's not stalking, it's called taking interest, Rias replies. That doesn't justify your actions, President, Zenobia says. Play the clip, Rias says. Ignoring Zenobia's comment, Rias orders her queen to play the clip with her voice as cold as the cactus, earning a flinch from Half the Fallen, who proceeds to play the clip and freeze at the sight. The glyph shows Issei pinning down his queen, hungrily plants a few kisses on her neck, earning a few soft moans from the knight who has a lewd expression. Seeing this, almost everyone with the exception of Rias gain a pink hue on their cheeks. That's embarrassing, Zenobia says. Akeno makes a glyph disappearing, earning a sigh of relief from Kiba, who shakes his head in disappointment, but then a cold, bone-chilling aura invades the surroundings. President? Akeno says. Rias looks away, averting her gaze from her peerage. Remembers, slowly her emotionless stare morphs into a terrifying smile that reflects her dark, twisted side. Do you think if you ignore me, I would stop following you? Do you think if you would get some help, I would back down and give up? Or have you ever thought, if you hide somewhere, I'd never find you? Oh no, my dear Issei. Somewhere around in the Shito realm, so scene break. In an unspecified hill peak, Volley is seen staring at the sunrise with a small smile reminiscing his old memories. Suddenly, a blue-colored teleportation circle appears from it, and Byoko comes out, earning a small frown from Volley. Yo, Volley, how are you doing? Byoko, you're back earlier than expected, Volley says. Don't blame me. The job was extremely easy, Byoko said. With a huge grin, Byoko lays on the grass and looks at the beautiful scenery with a huge smile. This does bring me some good memories. How is your assignment? Volley says. The Norse gods have decided to ally themselves with the biblical faction if the rumors are true. Also, there is a party for the young devils. I wonder, will you be at the party, rival? Volley says. Volley. He may be there for the party, but focus on getting stronger. You may be in the peak ultimate class, but you're a mere hatchling compared to the real world of the gods, Albion said. Listening to Albion's words, the White Dragon Emperor looks at the now manifested divine dividing with a small frown. If you compare my power to the list of the strongest beings, where will I be placed? Volley said. In your balance breaker, you'd be placed between 1,500 to 1,300. In the Juggernaut Tribe, you'll be between 600 to 400. Gritting his teeth in frustration, Volley looks at the sunrise with a huge frown. Not enough. Even at my best, there are 600 people who can defeat me, Volley says. You know, she has planned to try and take her sister back to the party, Byoko says. Hearing Byoko rant about someone, Volley sighs and looks at the sunrise trying to avoid Byoko, but then suddenly the space itself tears apart, and from a silhouette, a man appears. Why did you decide to come here? Volley says. My assignment was finished earlier, and thus I have arrived earlier than expected. A smooth voice echoes through the surroundings, earning a small smile from Volley while Byoko just snorts. I am curious about what will you do if you ever cross paths with the fabled Mordred Pentadragon. The air suddenly becomes more colder than usual, and a strange golden aura radiates from the silhouette. I shall execute that impostor for tainting the name of the Pentadragons. Now, back with Issei. After a long makeout session, the couple was watching a movie with a smile on their face. It looks like we've arrived at the Gremory territory, Issei says. With a small smile, Mordred looks outside the window, spotting a huge territory roughly the size of Japan. That's the Gremory territory, Mordred says. It is. Suddenly, Azazel barges into the cabin, breaking the door in the process. I forgot to mention something, Azazel says. With a heavy sigh, Issei looks at the panting fallen angel and questions him. What? As you already know, I have planned to train you guys, and for that, I'll have to test them. So I asked Zex to send Tanin for a small examination of their skills, Azazel says. Hearing this, Issei's neutral expression changes into that of pure surprise at the mention of Tanin. Tanin is here? How? Issei says. He's not here in this train, but is waiting at a valley between the Gremory territory, and I'll force teleport Rias' peerage there, and Tanin will attack them. This way, I'll know about their skills, and Tanin may be a higher up dragon faction, but he's also part devil and under a devil. I'm well aware that was the reason for Tanin not being sovereignty of the dragon faction. That's why he made his second son as the sovereignty, Issei says. I know that your queen and yourself are highly capable, so I don't want to waste my time testing your skills, but I would appreciate if you could help me out finding out their skills, Azazel says. After a minute of thinking, Issei's lips curve upwards, indicating his approval. Azazel lets out a nervous chuckle, spotting Issei's disturbing smile. Now, back with Rias. The ORC club members were minding their own business with a little to no conversations better than them, but suddenly they find themselves in a valley. The whole group breaks into chaos except for Rias, who has an emotionless gaze. What the fuck? Kiba says. It's a trap, Zenobia replies. Forced teleportation, Akino whispers. The peerage bring out their weapons and spells, getting ready, for the ground shakes violently and the dragon comes out of a cave nearby. It was 30 meters tall, gigantic western dragon. With the exception of his lower body, specifically his belly, the inner portions of his long tail and legs that are beige in color. A majority of its body is covered in dark purple draconic scales. A dragon? Akino says. Seeing the dragon, everyone except Kiba immediately launched their attack, creating a small smoke screen, but the smoke disappears, revealing the dragon without a scratch. Its magic resistance is very high. We shouldn't focus on that strategy, Kiba says. Focus on offense. We can do this, Rias says. Ignoring Kiba, the Princess of Ruin orders her peerage to blindly attack that dragon, much to Kiba's shock with her illogical thinking. Azia, heal, Rias says. Konako blindly charges toward the dragon, which simply uses its tail to knock her down, but then Akino fires a lightning bolt which causes no visible damage. Now, back with Issei. What the fuck are they doing, blindly charging at a fucking dragon that is 30 meters tall, and their teamwork is even mediocre? The only one who is thinking rationally is Kiba, Issei says. A golden glint directly telecasts the fight between Rias' peerage and the dragon. Even amateurs are better than this. Sure, Rias is a low-tier high class, and the others are mid-class in power, but if their teamwork is bad, even a small group of mid-class fallen angels could defeat them. How am I supposed to teach them, Azazel says. Groaning in frustration at the peerage's terrible coordination, Azazel curses himself at his own luck, causing Mordred to laugh at his misfortune. Pathetic. If they're pointless, then it'll be the first to die, Issei says. Now back with Rias. The situation is very bad for Rias, and her peerage as Konako knocked out Ozzy, extremely exhausted by her reserves to heal the dragon, was unfazed by their attacks. Take this, Rias says. The Ruined Princess uses her fabled power of destruction at the dragon. The dragon calmly uses a claw to block the attack, causing Rias to enter a state of panic. It blocked the power of destruction? Rias said. The blue-haired devil knight suddenly disappears and appears next to the dragon and draws out a sword brimming with holy aura. Ignoring the uncomfortable glances of her fellow devils, Zenobia rushes towards her with the sword aimed to kill, but the dragon extends its horn, which successfully blocks the attack, and dragon uses its self-tail to knock her to the ground. It blocked Geraldal? This isn't a normal dragon, Zenobia says. Akino fires a lightning at the dragon, which casually blocks the lightning with its tail, but then the power of destruction makes contact with its scales and dissipates, leaving a small scratch. Balance breaker, Kiba says. A black sword beaming with both holy and demonic aura manifests on his hands. Suddenly, the dragon fires a torrent of flames at the devils, who narrowly dodges the attack on time. Ha! Kiba says. In a blink of an eye, Kiba appears next to the dragon and tries to impale it with the holy demonic sword, but the dragon uses its claws to break the sword. Now, back with Issei. Issei looks at the sword with Zenobia, used a small smirk, while Mordred had a joyful smile. Mordred, the girl, she has potential to become a good swordsman, and the sword that she used isn't a normal one. It may be on par with clarinet, Mordred says. Durandal, the peerless sword, one of the most powerful holy swords. It was wielded by Roland the Paladin, leader of the 12 Paladins of the Charlemagne. He was the only wielder who mastered the Durandal. He reached mid-tier ultimate class in power with a human body, a very rare exception between humans, Issei said. A disturbing gleam makes its way towards the Knights of Treachery eyes. Seeing that this, Issei pats her, causing her to blush, while Azazel coughs. Jeez, don't be flirting in front of me, Azazel says. You're just jealous that you couldn't flirt. Isn't that right, old man? Issei says. Azazel's mischievous attitude changes into a cold tone as he throws him the coldest glare he could muster. What did you say, Mr. Virgin with no experience? Azazel says. Yeah, I'm a virgin and I'm proud to be it. I bet you're a virgin as well, Issei says. Azazel lets out a boisterous laughter hearing Issei's words, and soon as a smug smirk replaces his laughter. Bitch, I lost my virginity when I was just 12, Azazel says. Issei and Mordred just sit there in silence. I think you should go get them, Issei says. Now, back with Rias. Everyone except for Rias and Nakano falls unable to get up due to their exhaustion kicking in. How in the name of Satan can it block my power of destruction, Rias says. A golden-colored magic circle appears next to Rias, and from it the Governor General comes out with a huge smirk. Time skip. Rias and Peerage look at Azazel with a dumbfounded expression at the new information. That dragon was a test for us, Rias says. Yup. And we failed miserably, Rias replied. Yup, Azazel said. Azazel gleefully smiles, causing Rias to let her aura flare, earning a flinch from her queen. That is Tanin, a former Dragon King, now half devil and high-ranking member of the Dragon faction, Azazel says. Hearing the name Tanin, everyone freezes, knowing about his strength, and they avert the attention to the former Dragon King. I must admit, that wasn't that bad. The young Durandal wielder has good potential, and the holy demonic sword user has decent agility, Tanin says. Did the dragon just talk? Zonovi replied. It did, Kiba said. But your teamwork was very sloppy. You have a lot to improve, especially you, Rias. You must have ordered them to attack Tanin on sight, Azazel says. Hearing Azazel pointing out their mistakes, Rias bites her lips in frustration. We managed to push back a former Dragon King. This is good enough. Keep dreaming, King. Tanin was just using 10% of his power, Azazel says. A tick mark appears next to Rias' head, as Azazel nonchalantly walks away after giving them the teleportation leaflet. This will take you to the Gremory mansion. Lord Gremory wishes to have dinner with you, and all of you will start our training. Your brother has invited a newly appointed second governor of Issei Kotamine to the Gremory mansion, so your brother wants you to avoid disturbing him or his Peerage members. In the blink of an eye, Azazel disappears into thin air, leaving a shocked Rias, and soon a small grin appears on her face. I don't care what the fuck my brother says. He is mine, Rias says. Now, in the Gremory mansion, scene break. After a long day, Issei finds himself and his Peerage teleported to the gates of a huge mansion located at the center of the city. A devil guard comes closer towards Issei, and a smirk its way towards his face looks at Mordred matched with lecherous eyes. Halt! This is off limits for civilians. This is the housing of the great Lord Gremory, so why don't you let me have these sluts? They'll do fine, the guard says. The ignorant guard moved towards the girls greedily, eyeing them, while the other civilian devils nearby just sigh. Oh, I don't think Lord Gremory will be happy once he finds out that his guests have been ill-treated, and I don't like the fact that you're flirting with my mate, Issei says. With a fake smile, Issei warns the guard, but deep down, one can feel the enormous amount of hatred. Fuck you, asshat. These low-class bitches must be proud of receiving an esteemed mid-class devil's dick. I'll have her craving my dick like a bitch in the heat. Issei, show him the feeling of death, Drake says. Oh, low-class, huh? You have the guts to take them from me, huh? Issei lets out his blood-red aura, scaring the shit out of every single devil while the guard falls to his knees, unable to breathe. Scared beyond looking at, the unstable smile on Issei's face and his eyes change into that of a dragon's, and about 50 low-class devil guards hastily try to approach him, but failing miserably. The civilian devils run away from the scene, unable to resist their primal instinct, and then a Gremory magic circle appears from it, and highly panicked Lord Gremory comes out to face us, sweating profusely at the unnatural smile on Issei's face. Lord Kotamine, you're scaring the civilians, Lord Gremory says. Issei, calm down, Mordred says. He just released an aura equivalent of a high-tier ultimate class. He isn't even using his full powers, Lord Gremory said. Please don't kill me, the guard says. Wrong choice of words. I hate people like you, Issei says. Issei's aura comes into contact with the guard whose body vaporizes, unable to withstand the aura. Lord Gremory, pleasure meeting with you. I think I owe you an apology for disintegrating one of your guards. He tried to lay his filthy hands on my mate. With a nervous laugh, Lord Gremory apologized to him for his guard, and soon Grafia appears next to the guide in the rooms. Please feel free to do anything you want to, Grafia. Here will be a small tour around the mansion, Lord Gremory says. With a small smile, Lord Gremory leaves them with the strongest queen, who humbly bows down to greet them. Lord Kotamine, Lady Pentadragon, if you would like, may I give you a small tour of the mansion, Grafia says. Sure, I appreciate it. Tell me, Lady Grafia, how is Sir Zex? Issei says. Please refrain from addressing me with such titles, Lord Codamine. I'm just a maid of Lucifer. And to answer your question, he is fine, Grafia says. Grafia sternly corrects Issei with a stoic tone, which earns a small look of curiosity from Mash. We dragons always respect the strong lady, Grafia, Issei says. You're the one bearing the title of the strongest queen, right? Mordred said. I am, Lady Pentadragon, Grafia says. Then let's have a spar. With a huge manacled grin on the Knight of Treachery, challenges the silver-haired Queen Annihilation to a duel, earning a facepalm from Issei and a sweat drop from the stoic made herself. I apologize for my mate. She's a bit of a battle maniac. Since she's a dragon now, her tendencies have multiplied, Issei says. There is no need for an apology, Lord Codamine, and I would wholeheartedly accept the spar if you wish, Lady Pentadragon. Yeah, I got a duel, Mordred says. Princess, control yourself, Issei replies. I am merely curious to see the girl next to you, Grafia says. Out of curiosity, which is rare of the stoic mage, she asks about Mash, causing Bash's body to go stiff. Ah, she's my newest pawn, Issei says. Pleasure to meet you, Lady Grafia. I am Mash, pawn of Issei, Mash says. With a shy tone, Mash introduces herself to Grafia, who slightly smiles at her. Likewise, Lady Mash, Grafia says. Time skip. Scene break. The Red Dragon Emperor, along with his peerage, walk into this main hallway, which is filled with butlers and maids who could bow down to them at respect. This place sure has a lot of maids, Mordred said. Devils highly believe in the system of hierarchy, Issei replied. As they were walking through the hallway, a cute young boy with short crimson red hair advances towards the Red Dragon. You're the one who caused the aura flare, aren't you? The voice says. With a small scowl on his face, the boy young glares at him, causing Issei and Mordred to be amused by his actions. I am. It's impressive that you could sense that, kid, Issei says. Why did you do it? The kid replied. A snob threatened someone to get close to me, so I guess, Issei replied. With a sheepish grin, Issei nonchalantly explains to the boy, who scoffs in return, amusing Issei even more. You shouldn't have done that. What if an innocent man got caught up in it? Tell me, kid, were you able to sense the power of my aura? I was able to. It was the range of an ultimate class. Aren't you afraid of my power, kid? Issei replies. No, it's a noble's duty to save the innocent, so I'll do anything to defend them, the kid says. With all of the serious he could muster, the kid proudly exclaims, causing Issei and his queen to break out laughing. You have such a good heart, Mordred replies. Well, if you are noble, where are your manners? Issei says. With a smirk, Issei questions the young boy, who answers with an innocent smile. I am Milicus Gremory. Nice to meet you. The serious tone of his sudden vanishes, a cheerful one takes place. You're the son of Sir Zex, aren't you? I'm Issei Codamine, but you can call me Issei, Issei says. I am Mordred Pentadragon, the true heir of King Arthur. The boy, identified as Milicus, suddenly bows down. I am sorry for being cold, but I just wanted to make sure the people were fine, Issei, Milicus says. With a coldness completely gone, the son of Lucifer flashes a cheerful smile akin to his father's. You're pretty powerful, Milicus. I can tell that you're powerful. As a low-tier, high-class devil, while most of the pure-blood devil kids of your age are just low-class or mid-class in power. Have you ever trained? No. I have never trained. I was born with this power. Grandfather said the devils only train after they're 10, Milicus says. With a sad smile, the boy looks at a couple with a slightly shocked expression. You are something else, Milicus. You have the potential to reach ultimate class. Keep trying hard and do not become an arrogant prick. You're kind of weird, in a good way. Can we be friends, please? Milicus says. I am your friend, Issei replies. Issei gently ruffles his hair, walks away from his peerage, following him, but before leaving, Mordred flashes a smile at him. Drake, you felt that, right? I did. It's a suppression seal, Drake said. Issei inwardly chuckles at Drake's word while diving deep into his thoughts. He has such tremendous amount of potential. He is surpassing his powers. He's suppressing his powers. He must be at least high-tier, high-class in power. Milicus Gremory, you are amazing. You have the potential to reach the realm of the gods, Issei said. Seems like you take a liking to him, Mordred says. I did. He just looks like Sir Zex. He's kind of funny. He and his mother, cold demeanor, and his father's cheerful attitude. He is also cute, Mordred says. Time skip. Currently, there was an unbelievable incident taking place, which was Issei and his peerage seated at the dinner table with Rias sitting on the opposite side of her table. Rias keeps on staring at the red dragon, who holds back the urge to kill her right here. Noticing his, Mordred throws a cold glare at Rias, who returns the same, while the members of the ORC look violently, avoiding eye contact. I really want to kill her right now, Issei thinks in his head. Lord Gremory says, please relax and enjoy yourselves. By the way, Lord Issei. Lord Gremory shoots Rias a clearly understanding the staring contest. Yes, Issei replies. I have been informed that you'll be taking part of the training montage. I hope you have a good time, Lord Gremory says. Thanks for your concern, Lord Gremory. Ah, quite a gentleman you are, Lord Issei, Lady Gremory says. With a mischievous smirk, Lady Gremory teases Issei, who just brushes it off. Well, this is the format. Even please refrain from your being your mischievous self, Lord Gremory says. You're no fun. Lady Gremory replies, slightly pouts, earning a small blush from Lord Gremory seeing Mordred chuckles. Seeing this, Mordred chuckles. Mother, I will... Rhea starts. Lady Gremory cuts her off daughter by engaging in the conversation with Mordred. Lady Pentadragon, may I call you Mouson? Of course you can, Mordred says. Well then, Mouson, if you want to take any advice from me, feel free to ask, Lady Gremory says. Mordred's face changes in a deep red embarrassment, causing Issei to stare at them blankly. Women are strange, Issei says. Indeed, Dreg replies, and the rest of the dinner was filled with utter silence, but it wasn't peaceful as Rhea's glare was directed towards Mordred. And that is the end of Chapter 17. Chapter 18. Third POV, Unknown Location. This is a magnificent sight, isn't it? Tomoki says. Tomoki takes a glance at the ominous altar, which has an aura of the dread surrounding its. Couple of mages emerge from the shadows with a grin. Take a look at the heavy mana presence surrounding this altar. This must be used by a supernatural entity, Mage 1 says. The Totsuka Patriarch and a couple of other mages approach the ancient altar with power hungry. This isn't a typical altar. This one is special. This specific altar was built 2,500 years ago for a sole reason of execution. But what many don't know is the altar is a seal, Tomoki says. A what? The mage replies. A seal which confines an ancient relic, one feared through the supernatural world. It can make the mightiest of the ultimate class tremble, Tomoki says. What relic are you talking about, Sir Totsuka? The mage says. Hearing the unknown mage's question, the Totsuka Patriarch grins widens. The curse of the gods, the true power of bewitching black serpent, but it's completely refined as a Sibyl or mystic eyes of petrification, Tomoki says. Suddenly the mage nearby lets out a gasp as he finds the staff lodge into his chest. Ah, isn't it pleasant to be killed by a fellow magi? But alas, what needs to be done needs to be done. Unfortunately, I can't let you walk away with this information. A magus should never trust another magus, Tomoki says. The dying mage looks at his killer with shock and disbelief as the jewel of Tomoki's staff glows, and soon the mage gets incinerated. The mystic eyes will be a great help in my search for Seraphic Grail, and once I get the Grail, I'll make sure the old Satan bastards die a painful death for my betrayal of our terms. Ah, speaking around betrayal, the Hyodo family got butchered by some random freak. I wonder, is the child with the mystic eyes that they've adopted and experimented under my orders alive? What was his name? Issei Hyodo, Tomoki says. Let's just make this a note. Tomoki did not know that Issei was the Red Dragon Emperor when he made Issei Hyodo family adopt him. He just knew about Issei's mystic eyes. That's all he knew, just for clarification. Now, scene break. We're at the Gremory mansion. You want Mash to be trained by Tanin? Issei says. Correct, Azazel replies. With a smug grin, Azazel replies to the Red Dragon Emperor's previous questioning, causing Issei to facepalm himself. The poor girl will be traumatized by him, Issei says, but she'll get stronger, Azazel replies. You want me to send her to the Dragon Valley for a whole month? Issei replies. Yes, Azazel says. Have you lost your mind? Azazel says. Issei yells at the governor of fallen angels, who lets out a small sigh in return. Look, I don't know a lot about dragons and half-dragons, but I know what will happen if you keep a hatchling sheltered for a long time, Azazel says. She is just a week old, Issei says. Have you become soft, Red Dragon Emperor? Azazel replies. A taunting smirk makes its way towards Azazel's face, earning him a scoff from Issei. Fine, I'll send her to the Dragon Valley for Tanin to train her, but if I find her missing a limb or two, you're gonna die in the most painful way possible, Issei says. With a cold gaze adorning his face, Issei threatens the governor of the fallen, who laughs nervously at the threat. And I have made a special arrangement for the blondie with Okita Soju, the Knight of Sursex, to help her with her swordsmanship, Azazel says. I am aware of the fact that my Mordred lacks technique in swordsmanship, as her stance is mainly focused on strength and speed, Issei says. For you, I believe that you can just train yourself in isolation, Azazel says. I am sure I'm going to miss my Mordred and her adorable smile, Issei says to himself. Issei's neutral demeanor morphs into a sad smile, causing Azazel to raise an eyebrow. You're fine, aren't you? Azazel says. I'm good. I was just curious if anyone from the Gremory's peerage will be trained by Tanin. Yes. Tanin personally wants to train Barkiel's daughter. Azazel says. Oh, Issei replied. The next day, scene break. On the courtyard of the Gremory mansion, the Red Dragon Emperor, amidst of the rising sun, bids farewell to his peerage. Take good care of yourselves. I'll be back in a month in MASH. Tani won't hurt you while training, so quit worrying and use this to self-improve. I'll try my best, Mash says. With a meek smile, Mash turns away as Tani flashes a thumb and gently carries her away. I'm going to enjoy this training to its fullest, Mordred says. I'm sure you will. Just stay safe, Issei says. Bye, Mordred replies. Mordred gently kisses him, causing Azazel to groan. I'll miss you, Issei says. A pair of emerald-colored wings sprouts from Issei's back, and the Red Dragon Emperor flies away, taking a last glance at his queen's beautiful eyes. Now, with Mash. A defeating blast echoes throughout a valley in which Mash desperately tries to escape from the blaze meteor dragon's blast. He said Tanin won't hurt me, Mash said. Getting distracted in a battlefield is fatal, young one, Tanin said. Tanin once again fires a turret of flames at the exhausted dragoness, who narrowly dodges the attack. Suddenly, another torrent of flame hits Mash, who falls into the ground exhausted. Your reflexes are good for a hatchling, but dwarfs in comparison to an experienced dragon, and we'll have to train on you to hand-to-hand combat, Tanin says. Okay, Mash replied. Now get up, hatchling. We haven't finished our training yet, Tanin yells. While Tanin roars at the poor girl, a teleportation circle appears, and from it the Priestess of Thunder arrives with a mischievous smile. Ha! This makes me hot, Akeno says. Suddenly Mash feels a chill down her spine as Tanin turns around, facing the Queen of Rias. You're late, daughter of Barkiel, Tanin says. I am sorry. Please do not punish me, Akeno says. With a slurry smile on her face, the Priestess of Thunder tries to tease the former Dragon King, but failing miserably. Are you really Barkiel's daughter? Tanin said. Don't ever say his name, Akeno replied. Your training for today is to evade my attacks, and attack me till you're out of steam. Tomorrow I'll take both of you to the Dragon Valley for you to meet other young dragons, Tanin said. Before that, you must be Mash Pawn of Issei. I am Akeno Hajime, Queen of Rias Gremory. I'm looking forward to training with you, Akeno says. With a smile, that Akeno introduces herself to Mash while waving her hands. Location, unknown. Scene break. A magic circle appears from it. Mordred comes out only to find the forest, causing her to raise an eyebrow. The crow said that someone called Okita Soji will be here. After a few minutes of searching the forest, the Knight of Treachery finds a silhouette under a sakura tree. This place is really stunning, Mordred replies. Mordred tries to sneak on the silhouette by concealing her presence, but gently gasps in shock, having a look at the silhouette. It was a girl in her mid-teens who wraps her body in fashionable Japanese clothing and has an unnatural aura around her. You must be Mordred Pentadragon, I presume. The girl suddenly averts her gaze towards Mordred, who looks at her with wide eyes. I am, Mordred replies. I am Okita Soji, Knight of Serzek's Lucifer. Now, shall we have a spar? I'm itching for a good fight, Mordred says. I'll be glad to face you, Knight of Treachery, Okita says. Now, with Issei. In an archery located on the Underworld Club, Issei raises a classic bow, and with outstanding concentration, aims at a target. With his aim never faltering, the Hunter of the Red Plains releases the string, and soon the arrow hits the target in the bullseye. What the fuck is he? No supernatural creature I've ever seen. His target 10,936 yards away accurately, Random Devil says. The other devils in the room back away nervously while a few newbies look at him with curiosity. Hey, this is the one who killed the guard of Marcus of the House of Gremory household, the Random Devil said. You're quite famous, it seems, Drake says. Oh, great, Issei replies. Drake internally chuckles at Issei's sarcastic remark. This isn't training. This is kids' play for someone like you, so why don't you train a bit seriously, Drake said. I think you're correct. I must take things seriously, Drake. Do you know of any isolated places to train? Issei replies. There is a place called Dragon's Bane. On the Shinto realm, I think it would do just fine, Drake says. Thanks for your help, partner, Issei replied. In the blink of an eye, Issei disappears into thin air, leaving a bunch of flabbergasted devils. Time skip. In a flash, Issei appears out of nowhere into a dense forest, causing Drake to groan as the boosted gear manifests itself on Issei's hands. This isn't Dragon's Bane, looks like a creepy shine. We have been teleported to the wrong place, Drake said. Ah, but I must admit, this place is creepy, Issei says. In front of them was a spooky shrine, which most likely is abandoned. I'm going to search this place for any living thing, Issei says. Issei decides to take a stroll through the shrine and slowly inspects the shrine while never letting down his guard. Partner, I can sense a faint sense of aura inside the shrine, Drake says. Issei approaches the shrine cautiously, and for a moment he sets foot on the shrine and disappears in an ominous forest, replaces the shrine, causing Issei to put up his guard even further. Reverse special teleportation loophole, Issei says to himself. If it is true, when we have no choice but to destroy this mini-dimension, Drake said. We can't escape this place by running, flying, or teleportation. This place is an endless loop. You'll end up in the same place even if you fly for years, Issei says. Suddenly, Issei snaps his head in a particular direction with a small frown on his face. This aura must be a kitsune, Issei replies. Issei spreads his magic draconic wings and searches for any living thing, but spots a huge chunk of ice located far away. Issei flies towards the ice at speeds nearing Mach 2. Location, Gremory Mansion. Now we're back with the Gremory, so scene break. We're no longer with Issei. The sounds of kicks and punches echoes through the surroundings as the Rook of Rias works out with determination on her eyes. I don't need it. I won't become a monster, Konako says. Now we're at a new scene break location, secluded chambers of the Gremory Mansion. Out of the colossal library books, the crimson-haired ruined princess desperately searches for a book. Where the hell is it, Rias says. In a fit of rage, Rias bangs her fist on the bookshelves, causing a pile of books to fall down, but when Rias' anger changes into a smile as she picks a book from the pile of books. Let's see. Cultural Heritage of Dragons, Draconic Anatomy. What is this book? Let's see. The Dragon Eater. This will do just fine, Rias says. A predatory smirk appears on her face as the torrent of negativity surrounds her. Now, scene break. We're with Issei. Issei looks at the sight before him with a cautious huge hill of ice, radiating a faint trace of aura seen. Partner, this looks like the seal that someone or something is trapped inside, Drake says. I have never seen an ice this strong in my life, except for the cactus, Issei says. This ice is a fine one indeed, but even this pales in comparison to Albion's ice spells, Drake said. Should I break the ice? I would break the ice if I were you, Drake says. Hearing Drake's advice, Issei ponders on what to do for a couple of minutes and finally makes his decision. I have decided. I'll break the ice and find what's inside. A good choice, partner. Now tell me, how do you plan on breaking the ice seal? It seems to be at least an ultimate class seal. Balance break. Welt's Dragon, balance breaker! A bright red light invades the surroundings as the light dissipates. Issei, covered in his balance breaker, is seen fully. Boost times 50. Huge amounts of mana accumulates on his lungs with a mighty roar. The mana was released as a huge torrent of fire. After a few minutes, the fire stops, revealing a nearly all vaporized, earning a smirk from Issei. Time to check out the remains of the seal, Issei says. As Issei gets closer to the remains of the ice seal, his face morphs into one of pure shock. A female kitsune, Drake says. In the middle of the remains is a gorgeous girl with long pink hair and fox characteristics with such the ears and tail. The girl was wearing an elegant blue kimono, as she laid amid the ice with a peaceful smile on her face. I'm starting to think the author likes fox girls, am I right, guys? I just wanted to say that. Anyway, back to the story. I didn't expect the kitsune to be the one that's sealed, Issei says. The woman in front of you is no random kitsune. She has aura of divinity on her. She is a nine-tailed kitsune, Drake says. She seems to be in a coma due to extended periods of imprisonment, Issei replies. Issei gently checks her pulse. With a snap of his fingers, the unconscious girl levitates into the air, while the dimension around them crumbles into a burst in light as the Red Dragon Emperor finds himself on the creepy shrine with the mysterious kitsune next to him. Drake, how many nine-tailed kitsune were recorded in history, Drake says. Only a handful of nine-tailed kitsune has ever existed, and the only two alive are Yakuza, the leader of the Kyoto yokai faction, and her daughter, Kyono. But I assure you that this woman is not Yakuza, Drake says. As Drake was explaining about the nine-tailed yokai, the unconscious woman slightly opens her eyes, regaining her consciousness. Where am I? I can remember those wretched yokai. They took everything from me. The Kitsune yells out, startling Issei a bit, and a huge fireball comes crashing onto Issei, creating a small explosion, and from it Issei comes out with his shirt completely burned, as a massive frown made its way towards his face. I helped you, and I get a fireball to my face. Is this how you greet others? Issei says. Shut up, you vile creature. You're here to make my life miserable one, aren't you? You're all the same, the girl replies. The girl responds with a snarl, preparing another spell, causing Issei to sigh. I am a dragon and not a yokai, and I am here to make your life miserable. I'm not here to make your life miserable. I freed you from prison, Issei says. This is the Komiko period, isn't it? The Kitsune says. Hearing this, Issei nearly tips due to shock at her question. When were you imprisoned? Issei says. The year 1193. Issei just sits there in silence. Drake sits there in silence. That's 828 years ago. You were in prison for 828 years? Issei says. Issei answers come in a form of whisper while Kitsune stares at him with a blank expression. Which year is it? It's 2021, Issei replies. What the fuck? Who are you? Issei replies. Why should I tell you? The girl says. The girl snaps at his question as a smirk forms on Issei's face. I'll ask you a question and you can ask me one. It's a win-win for both of us, Issei says. The girl stares at the ground for a moment, pondering the offer, and with a small sigh, agrees. Fine. Who are you? The girl says. Issei Hyodo, the strongest Red Dragon Emperor and full-fledged dragon. Now tell me, who are you? Issei says. With a proud smirk, Issei answers a question, earning a small smile from the Kitsune. Reincarnation of the divine fox yokai, Tama no Me. Hearing this, Issei's smirk gets replaced by an emotionless stare. If you're telling the truth, I have to admit that I am shocked. But how do I know that you're not a threat? Issei says. Chill, dragon boy. I won't mindlessly kill everyone in my set, Tamio says. Issei groans at Tamio's nickname for causing her to giggle. How were you trapped inside the ice seal? Issei says. A frown replaces her giggles the moment she heard this question. When I was weakened, a wandering ice mage used his fire force to reinforce his ice magic and successfully sealed me at the cost of his life. It's your turn to answer. Tell me about the Shiodo Pantheon and the Yokai faction, Tamio says. The Shiodo Pantheon lost a bit of their territories to the devils, but other than that, nothing big has happened. And the Yokai's faction's authority has rapidly declined to a state where only territory they have is the city of Kyoto. Tatsuki and Hirakiri, but the ruler of the yokai faction, Yakuza, a nine-tailed fox, is doing a good job at recovering the glory of the lost yokai faction, Issei says. Hearing Issei's lecture about the yokai faction, Tamio burst out laughing. Ha! Those fools deserve even worse than this, Tamio says. One final question. What are you going to do after this, Issei says. Maybe we'll kill a bunch of yokai and wander the realms, Tamio says. Tamio nonchalantly answers his question as Issei sighs at her bluntness. I am in a search for an isolated place to train. If you wish to follow me, you're welcome, Issei says. I don't train with lizards weaker than me, Tamio replies. Issei attempts to hold back a laugh, but fails to do so, causing her eyebrows to twitch. You know, the last person who said that to me ended up pretty badly, Issei said. Why don't you prove it to me, dragon boy? Time skip. You, Tamio says. A battered and bruised Tamio laid on the ground, clearly exhausted, while Issei was standing next to her with a few minor bruises and burns. Is this enough? Issei says. Oh, follow you, Tamio replies. Now with Mordred 2 weeks later. So this is a time skip to 2 weeks later. Now we're with Mordred. Ah, stay still, bastard, Mordred says. Mordred desperately tries to land a hand on her opponent, but Okita successfully dodges all of her strikes. Not bad. You're improved considering your terrible lack of technique in your swordplay when we first had a spar, Okita said. Using her katana, Okita skillfully blocks Mordred and disarms her. This isn't fair, Mordred said. Your physical strength and reflexes surpass mine, but you have a huge lack of technique. But you are slowly getting better, Okita said. Thanks, I guess, Mordred replies. Now we're with Mash. Mash was running for her dear life, as Tanin fired numerous fireballs without giving her a rest, while far away, Akeno was reportedly using thunder on a rock which failed to shatter. For the past 2 weeks, I have done nothing but use my electricity to shatter rocks. This isn't training, Akeno says. Ah, Mash says. Keep dodging, hatchling, Tanin replies. You're insane, Mash says. Respect your elders, young hatchling, Tanin says. Suddenly, a huge firestorm surrounds Mash, trapping her inside of the fire. In about a minute, the fire will begin to scorch your pseudo-dragon scales. Try to find a way out before that happens, Tanin says. Please stop this, Mash says. No, I can't. Now save yourself, Tanin says. Mash's POV. So we're going into like her first person moment. The firestorm Tanin summoned was beginning to get closer. I feel like I am being roasted. What is this feeling? Is this fear? Am I scared of death? I was created without being able to feel any negative emotions, but why can I feel fear? But then several images invaded my mind. I want to get stronger, Mash says. The image of Mordred patting my head appeared. I need to get stronger, Mash said. The image of Issei teaching me about things appeared. If I don't, the image of Mordred beating me in spar appeared. I think, Mash says, the image of Issei saving me from those wretched bastards appeared. My vision went red. I am not worthy of their friendship, Mash says. Everything went black as I felt unconscious. Third POV. Back with Tanin. Tanin was getting worried as the firestorm began to get incredibly close to Mash. Mash said, "Ah!" Mash's shield transformed into a green-colored magical barrier, which easily dispels the tornado of flames, then falls to the ground unconscious. Well, this was unexpected, Tanin says. Now, back with Issei. An exquisite hidden lair covered by Issei was meditating under a giant ice statue. Next to her, Tamio was also trying to meditate but failing miserably. This sucks. It's been 2 weeks and the only thing you've made me do is meditate, Tamio says. Meditation helps better health and controlling of our aura. But this sucks, Tamio says. The fox priestess whines like a child, to which Issei responds with a sweat drop. I am trying to enter the subconscious of the boosted gears. Please don't disturb me, Issei says. Fine, Tamio replies. Tamio leaves Issei to do his training and goes out to find anything to eat. Inside the subconscious of the boosted gear, Issei found himself floating on a void, but then a strange force pulls him away from the void. Now with Issei. Issei suddenly appears and opens his eyes with confusion attached to his face, to which Tamio raises an eyebrow. Drake, something blocked me from entering the subconscious of the boosted gear. Partner, it looks like the boosted gear is responding to your draconic nature and it's changing itself, Drake says. Hearing this, Issei's confusion changes to worry. A subspecies, Issei says? No. The boosted gear is undergoing an evolution. In other words, you may gain access to a power similar to Juggernaut Drive, Drake says. Ah, good news for me, Issei says. It is, Drake says. Drake, I was thinking about Sona. I don't know what to do about her, Issei says. Issei asks with anxiety dripping of his voice, which is a rare sight. Do you have any kind of romantic feelings for her? Drake said. I don't know, Issei says. Geez, you really are dense, partner, Drake says. With an amused chuckle, Drake laughs inside Issei's head. Follow your heart's desire. It will help you, Drake said. Easy for you to say. I like her, but I can't. I can't cheat on Mordred, Issei says. You can have a harem, just like you wished back then, Drake says. That part of me is dead. I don't want to be a sex-crazed maniac who bangs everyone. I want to be loyal to my princess just like how she is loyal to me. Issei snaps at Drager in a huge smile and sigh, in sign from Drake. Try to act a bit matured, Issei. Your mate understood about the culture of a dragon and gave her permission to have Sona as your mate, Drake said. Issei suppresses the urge to yell as he gets frustrated hearing Drake's advice. You don't know what it feels like to be betrayed and stabbed in your back like Rias did. You don't know how it feels to think about the only hope casting you aside, Issei replies. You believe that Mordred would cast you aside, Drake says. I do, Issei says. Issei internally screams at Drake, causing Drake to go silent for a minute, and then boosted gear manifests itself on Issei's arm and punches him in the face. I understand that you have troubles with trusting others, but this is just extreme, Drake says. Says the oldest virgin with no experience or love. Do you know how it would feel if your love left you all alone in the darkest days? I do. I was in love with the most beautiful and the most fearless dragoness I have ever met, but one day she left me, alone one of my darkest days for the sake of gathering her fucking treasures, and neglected me for her precious little treasures while I was in pain in the day I met Albion, my rival. Soon I devoted my life for sake of getting stronger to defeat my internal rival, Drake says. With the intention to knock some sense into his mind, Drake reveals his dark past to Issei, who goes silent hearing the words. Issei sits there in silence. I hope I have knocked some sense into your thick skull, partner. Issei learned to never temper him. Finally, a decision was made, and the text starts going crazy. I will always love you, Matt, Drake says. Time skip, last day of training. We're at the courtyard of the Gremory mansion. I swear, I'm going to kick his ass for making me worried, Mordred says. Suddenly, Mordred senses a presence behind her, and with her guard up, turns around only to be met with his king and Tamio with a sly smile. Long time no see, Issei says. Issei fucking Kodamine. You have a lot to explain about the girl behind you, Mordred said. Issei nevertheless laughs as he met with a punch to his face by Mordred. This is a misunderstanding. This is Tamio. No, my latest bishop, Issei says. Nice to meet you, Tamio says. How did you manage to recruit her? Mordred says. Well, Issei says, time skip. Now we're back. So she wanted to join the group on her own will? Yes, Issei replied. Well, welcome to the group, Mordred says. With a huge grin, Mordred walks away, but then Issei appears behind her and whispers something into her ears. I have decided to pay the Citri Mansion a visit. You wouldn't mind if I do, would you? Issei says. Go ahead, Mordred replies. With a small smile on his face, Issei leaves the Gremory mansion. And that is the end of chapter 18. And that will be where we're going to stop for now. Thank you guys so much for the support. It's been absolutely incredible. I know I've been MIA for like 6 days, and that's because I've been, I don't know, man. I needed a break. Let's just put it that way. I don't even want to get into my personal life. I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to fuck you guys over in the process because I'm already mind fucked right now. So let's go ahead and just get past that. So thank you guys so much for the support. I'm going to start doing things that I enjoy more. So I'm going to make more series. I'm going to try to go back into the content grind. I'm going to focus on my passion and focus on myself now. I was a little lost there for a minute. I can't lie. But once again, thank you to my balance breakers, Rob the King, Jorge Alvarez, Lachlan Yates, Atomic Warlord 58, Kozakel Toltec Sun God, Daybreak, VR Wolf #2347, Sinrar Q, Jordan Pacho, and Mazaku. Thank you so much for becoming a balance breaker. Without further ado, I am going to do What If Naruto Was Betrayed Part 1 will most likely be my next series, and What If Issei Awakened the Boosted Gear Earlier or Early will be a movie 1000%, and I promise you guys that. I do have really good things coming soon, so just thank you guys so much for the support. I need you guys now more than ever. Let me just put it that way. So I need to get out of this little state that I'm in. I need to go back to focusing on my passion. My passion is both track, and I do sprints, by the way. I run the 4 and the 2 is my main event, and I'm running things. And I've been doing really well in the events just because of all the support. So once again, like, I always come back here and I couldn't be thankful enough. Like, you guys don't understand. I completely get I'm much bigger than I used to be, and I don't quite understand that yet. But like, thank you guys so much. Let's try to hit like 400 to 500 likes. And if you guys enjoyed this series, thank you so much for the support. And without further ado, Spartanic Arts DxD out.